All right, greetings everybody. And today I'm going to be reviewing and demoing Tifa. And I'm looking over here because I need to start the music, but I want that nice little bit of this song start. Such a nice song. And I hope that somebody will replay this game because they hear this song. They'll think of it, they'll hear the music, and they'll, that, play that again. Anyway, need a break from the Deus Ex music. Alright, so talking about Tifa. Tifa is a really, really competent strike user. As a matter of fact, I kind of like her more than Cloud because strike damage is unique, and I think she's actually pretty powerful, all things considered. Something that we didn't get to talk about during her previous video was just stats and numbers, because they were not out on Wotv Calc. I was doing it pretty early. Her TMR skill is a 40% attack boost and strike attack resistance penetration of 40 on her Trust Mastery. So her Trust Mastery is, I think, even like way better than I gave it credit for. That's a lot of strike resistance penetration. There's no way that you could be a, strike type person and not get that Trust Mastery. That's what I'm just going to boldly claim. Anyway, healing power and accuracy up are in her dream enhancement, and just because I didn't really get too much into it, her support skills are a little bit lackluster. I don't think they're anything crazy here. They're pretty just good, but they're not amazing, and that's probably going to be one of the things that will separate her from a lot of the really new strong units. Like Cloud, Mont, all of these characters have something attached to their support skill that is just constantly there, like a barrier or whatever, and as such, that kind of just makes them initially stronger. But preemptive counters are really cool, and I mean, I will always just generally love preemptive counters, but that's something I like about this character. And talking about a few abilities that I didn't get a chance to talk about their data. First off, her Frostbite chance is just an initial 50% chance, which is pretty good. And one ability that I definitely did get not to talk about was her job level 12 ability, which increases AP consumption, but it's a 50% increase for 3 turns for the targets that are hit by it. And that to me is just a boatload of fun. Of all the AP reduction skills and effects and blah 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 blah, it's really cool to see a character come along and have something that counters that. That's what Tifa does. 50% AP consumption for the opponent hit by one of her attacks. I love it. Single target resistance shred on one of her abilities is a factor of 60, and her barrier, physical damage taken, reduced by 50% for 4 times, with elemental chain resistance of 40, strike attack resistance penetration of 30, and absorbs 50% of the damage. So basically, at this point, I have covered everything. We're just going to be using the exact same water team, except I have moved around a little bit of equipment for it to be overall better, because I think I put on the evasion piece of equipment for Ferris yesterday, and that made no sense whatsoever. So I'm just going to unequivocally just redact that. It never happened. I don't know what you're talking about. Moving on. And as for characters that we're bringing along this time, we're just going to be bringing along strike-based units, because Tifa is kind of a strike enabler. I've already seen Peachin has done like a pure, like a more ice party based video, and that looked pretty good, but I'm more curious on the idea of just strike and strike resistance. And without testing too much, because we already know the numbers it's being increased by, we're going to be upping Tifa's we're just going to be using the TMR skill right away, because it's just such a bunch of extra attack. Now we'll just start casting all of the abilities that we normally would. Ferris is a little bit far out and a little bit... it's fine, and we're going to get that barrier in there. So just to take a look. So Bridal Alaya, obviously Thunder Elemental has a advantage here when going up against other units, but you can see just how much reduction we have on, for instance, Ferris or Old here, or even you. I mean, this is a water-based team against a Thunder Strike unit, and taking a look also at resistances, you know, 24% strike resistance. We want a little bit of that in here when we're testing. 22% strike resistance and 9. So we're not exactly weak to strike-based damage, but just, you know, perusing through some of the abilities, we can see the types of damage numbers that we are doing with Bridal Alaya. It's, you know, still considered to be one of the best strike units out there. So good enough. We will just run another buff because we might as well. Continuing to just cast buffs. And OG Tifa as well, to show what she's kind of capable of. Although I do believe my Tifa is only 120, never upgraded her to 140 because I never felt the need. And yeah, we can kind of see the types of damage that is being done here, even against Tifa. Now, this Tifa is wind, and against ice, dealing about 1800 points of damage. Tifa countering with about a 3190 and a 19% chance that counter back at. Interestingly enough, and we'll just cast this, those abilities up. And then over here we have Tifa. So testing out with her limit burst first of all. See what it is doing. Seems fairly comparable to some of the other damage doing if we wanted to get rid of barriers. Because, you know, barriers hinder us a little bit. A lot of these characters are getting barriers on here, and we can see that we are going to have this single target, so we're not doing an AoE. Gets around a lot of the AoE resistance that has been stacked on this water-based team. But here we also have the barrier removal, which is something that this team struggles with or excels with. And you can see the percentage chance with this Tifa at 73-55, hovering around that 50% for 2 of the characters, but a pretty good, decent chance of getting Frostbite off, even with, and I'll just double check this, a faith of 50. So if you really wanted to pump Tifa, like be a little bit more risky, increase her faith to a higher level to get, because it should affect it. I haven't actually tested, but it should affect it. Then you should have a pretty decent chance of getting Frostbite. All right, the next ability that I want to just test out. Oh no, that's not her barrier removal. That's her single AoE shred with the Frostbite. This is break physical barriers. Getting rid of that. It is AoE, so we can potentially catch multiple opponents on that. And the one that I want to use just first and foremost, besides the buff that we should probably be running, but, you know, one thing at a time, is... I can't even see it now. Increase AP consumption is this ability. So it doesn't exactly hit for much, but it is not a large amount of damage. You are getting the defense penetration up off of this. Well, I think the real thing is increasing AP consumption. But okay, let's do the honorable thing and just buff ourselves once again with the ability. It'll help our teammates. Double check, make sure that we got the right one. Yes, and we're also getting the barrier, so we can test these characters against this. So now we move our character over here. See, Tifa is getting a bunch of damage reduced and still has a pretty good range on her counter for most abilities being within range to take off of it. And you can see here also that we can get a little bit more insight into how much damage we're doing. For OG Tifa, Bridal Alaya is a little bit tankier here, but Tifa is still preventing a good amount of. Then move over here, head, and Bridal Alaya's turn. Just because now that she has gotten that buff, she should be dealing more damage, and she is not an incredible amount, but AoE versus single target. And seems fine. Not amazing, but seems fine. Now Tifa has come around, and let's see, do we want to use her limit burst? We're decreasing chain resistance and critical evasion. That's pretty nice. I think we want to use some of these abilities, starting off with this AP increase. Also got the healed, since her barrier activates absorbing part of her damage done as healing. Skip ahead a wee bit, running a little bit long, so those buffs on some of these characters are going to be starting to disappear. Probably want to re-enable them. Oh, and we forgot to check AP increase. Oh well. So next up, we'll do the single target shred. And we know basically what will happen here. Basically a lot of single target. But let's see if we can also get some frostbite going too. Double frostbite. Beautiful. And activated the heal. But now, these characters not generating AP anymore. Pretty nice. They're already losing 20 AP, and that limit burst up to 52 AP. Now all of the abilities getting a AP increase. You know, potentially problematic. And look at that, even activating the counter pretty well, and getting some critical abilities. And last ability that I really want to test, just for fun, defense penetration, AP consumption, we've done that. Breaking physical barriers. Yeah, do we want to do the... her basic ability can decrease AP for the target by 20. So when you add all of these negative AP effects, she's more of an AP reducer. But, well, let's try this ability again, see if we're dealing any more. Oh, nope, wrong one. Pretty good incremental damage, it feels like. I don't know. I enjoy this, although this team definitely, I think Cloud was maybe more competent at damage. Let's break the physical barriers with her job level 25. This one, getting rid of that off of there. And just kind of waiting for Ferris's turn. She's a little low, but... And AP down to 7 already, with not much chance of getting much more. Ferris also pretty low with her AP cost removed, or increased. I don't know. I think it's a pretty fun ability overall. Tifa probably needs a little bit more support from other new strike-based units, and strike-based vision cards to really upgrade her on with just how potentially very strong units are starting to get. He definitely benefits from the job board stat increases that newer units are starting to see. He has good range. He has select a target. She's very focused on single target and AP manipulation. That's the word I'm looking for. And not only that, but just one of the things I think that also is quite enjoyable, critical with getting some benefits off of critical, and I don't know, like I'm running my mouth here to say that basically I like this unit for a free unit, think she's quite competent, synergizes with Ash and Mont based on the Ice and Earth Vision cards, and that's generally good enough for a character that is free copy. No gotcha involved to really push the character too much further, but I'm gonna wait, keep an eye on her, and see how she does in PvP over the next little bit, and we'll report back with my findings. But yeah, I give thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you later. Sorry for the rambling.